What's up, guys? So I want to tell you guys about the best ways to recall what you study and remember what you read, and we're going to take into consideration the curve of forgetting that you guys just looked at. Let's start with our first point, is that there is a fundamental difference between reading and studying. When you're reading, there's a lot less time required to go into it, and there's a lot less devotion that you need to do to read something. But when you study something, studying requires a lot more effort in order to recall that information. You can't simply read words and expect to remember them because our brains forget them. You'll also need a lot more focus and concentration. So, what is the main objective of reading? Glad you asked. The main objective is to gain exposure to that information. So you don't need to know everything about the information, but it's so your brain has like a couple of key points that it can remember. If you read a book on calculus, you're going to remember a couple of things about the calculus. It's not practicing calculus so that you recall how to do it. It's just knowing, hey, that's something that's relating to calculus. Now, studying, on the other hand, different beast. Studying is all about recall, remembering and being able to pull that information out to then apply it. So I want to prove to you guys right now the importance of reading before studying and how they're different. Before I do that, just remember, when you're studying, you need a focused goal. All right, so let's say you are a bus driver and you start off at the station, you have an empty bus. No one's on the bus yet, and then you put your keys in the ignition, you go, you drive off, you drive to the first stop, and 5 people get on. At the next stop, 2 people get off, and 3 people get on. At the next stop, 2 people get off, and nobody gets on. At the next stop, 4 new people come on the bus, and 1 old lady gets off the bus. At the next stop, 3 guys get on, and 1 guy with a bicycle is like trying to struggle to get on. He's trying to, but he just can't get on, and he has to go, and he's not able to get on the bus. At the last station, you get to the stop, and everyone gets off the bus. So now here are 2 questions I got for you guys. Number 1, how old is the bus driver? Number 2, how many stops did the bus take? I know what you're thinking. Mr. Steckler, you got me. But that's the point. When I was telling the story, you didn't know the point of what you need to look for in my story. This is just a demonstration of the way in which you need to be able to study with focused goals. By the way, here are the answers to the riddle. So the bus driver, in my case, would be 28 years old because I said that. I said, let's say you're a bus driver, which means you are the bus driver, however old you are. So if before my story started, I told you, make sure you pay attention to the age of the bus driver and pay attention to the number of stops. You could have easily, at the end of the story, told me exactly what those were, as long as you had previewed that information. So let's talk for a moment about the curve of forgetting. So according to the curve, you need to see information 4 times in order to not forget it. So I want to talk about the beginning of the curve over here when you first learn something. Usually what happens is when you're in class, you get exposed to the information for the first time. That's right there, the first view of the information. So once you've been exposed to it, it's essentially the same thing as reading the information on your own. You just kind of like have an idea of what it is, and without actually studying that, you're not going to remember because all you know is what the information is. You don't have a true deep understanding of it. So to truly dig into that information, you need questions. So my recommendation is when you're getting exposed to that reading or that information in class, you write down every single thing that you don't know. You ask a question about each thing that you either hear or you read and you don't get it, you write that down. These questions are going to be very helpful right after class so that you can go look up everything you don't know to start your first review of that information. And this review is the most important because the questions you ask will define how many hours of future studying you can save yourself from. So you hear information in class, you review it once, then we have over here 24 hours, 1 week, 1 month. So 24 hours later, even if you forgot the answers to the questions you looked up after class, you still will remember your questions, and those questions are your map to help you guide yourself to the next review of information. As long as you have the questions that you asked in class, you can continue to review those questions, look them up online or in your notes, and you're gonna get all that information. So your questions are quite literally your roadmap to overcoming the forgetting curve. So it's essential that you guys ask them and write them down as soon as you don't understand something, which means you need, while reading, to write down questions you have about what you don't understand so when you study, those questions can help you recall them. Final trick. If you pre-read before a lecture, this part is the pre-reading, this part in class is your first review, and then this part is your review after. The more you prepare, the more you save time.